Hello and welcome to the Tired Craftsman channel. I am your host, the Tired Craftsman, and tonight we're going to be making another foam build. Those of you who watched my Hellboy video may remember 3 stupid asshole demons that made an appearance in it. They wear these stupid mask things with no eye holes, and tonight I'm going to show you how one could go about making one of those out of foam, if one were so inclined. Not that I made those ones though, those were real demons. That's right, demons do exist, they have for some time, don't let it distract you right now. I mean, you made it this far in your life and literally nothing's changed except for the fact that you now know about it. But the cosmic horrors always knew about you. And they've been watching. And waiting. And eventually we'll all just fade away and return to dust. But for now, let's get creative. One thing real quick, worth mentioning. I had already made the templates for this project tonight before I filmed this, so I'm going to redo that part and show you how to pull that type of template and make similar ones. So they won't be the actual ones I'm using tonight, but this is the method that I did to make them. Got it? Let's go. Here to assist me in this demo is my loyal roommate. The first step in pulling a template is to wrap the subject in tinfoil. The mask that I'm making is only going to cover the front top half of the face, so the top half is all that I need to cover for this particular one. And then once you got your subject all wrapped up in the foil, you're going to turn to the duct tape and cover it completely. By the way, I didn't pick out this duct tape, and for whatever reason, the color is very upsetting to me. I don't like it at all. But that's life for the creative. We all have to suffer for our art. And as you can see, I'm now drawing some lines indicating where I'm going to cut this apart once we get it off his head. Now, I'm not a great pattern maker, so I can't give you too much advice on where to put the lines, but I've seen people do this for this type of shape, and it works so far. Also, you're going to put little marks that are going to be registration points that you're going to transfer onto the foam so that you can line it up properly later. Now to just cut along the lines you made and flatten the pieces out and trace them onto some cardboard or poster board or whatever you want to use, just to have something more solid. Make sure to include the registration marks onto the template, and we're ready to go. Also, you only need the one side of it because if you make the pattern for the left side, you just flip it over and now you have a right side pattern. So there's a little tip for you right there. Okay, now with that out of the way, we can start making this thing. Now remember, again, I am using a different pattern. I'm not basing it off of the pull we just did. Mine has the cheeks extended. I wanted to have a little more armor down there, but more or less it's the same thing, and that's the same way that I made the pattern for this one, so we're good. I'm going to cut the pieces out. I'm using a craft knife or maybe box cutter. I don't know, I've heard a couple different names for it. Doesn't matter, but you do want to keep this sharp. I always sharpen mine with a whetstone before cutting foam, because foam has a way of really dulling razor blades super fast. I have no idea how that works, because it's metal and foam is soft, but somehow it does. So yeah, sharp blade is always going to be the way to go if you want to have nice cuts on your projects. Then to join all these pieces together, I'm going to be going with Old Reliable contact cement. I typically explain how contact cement works in every video, just in case, this is the first video of mine you've seen, or if you've never seen contact cement before. But I was kind of thinking about not doing that this time, but in the time it took me to say that, I could have just done it. So basically, you just apply it to all the surfaces that you want to bond together, let it dry for about 10 minutes till it gets tacky, and then you join the pieces together, but make sure you have them aligned because they join instantly. I said that so many times. I should just record that part and just have that saved somewhere so I can just put it in. So I literally had to say it every single time, but it is what it is, and now you know if you didn't before. Now here you can see I got a little over eager. What I should have done before applying the glue was take a heat gun to it and try to turn all the pieces into complex curves as best I could. Kind of just put a little bit of a dome curve in them, because the helmet's going to be dome shaped, and putting a bunch of flat pieces together to make a dome doesn't work. So yeah, you want to do this first. Just kind of shape them a little just so they fit together better and go into that dome shape easier. Okay, now with that little error corrected, we can begin assembling. So remember, contact cement joins immediately. Make sure you have it lined up right. And as best I can, I'm trying to align these little registration marks, because when you're putting foam together, it can stretch differently, the different pieces, and you could end up with one side overlapping the other one too much. So that's what the registration marks are for, and just, it's sometimes it's a pain to get them lined up right, but just do the best you can, nobody's judging you here. Of course, I might get judged a little bit, but, that's the nature of it, but it's fine. I'm an ENTP, so, a view's a view, baby. Anyway, we've now concluded the very step-by-step how-to part of this video. Now we're getting into, trying things, winging it, artsy stuff. I want this thing to look a little crude, like, you know, not the best blacksmith in hell made it. So, you know, just take a bunch of like metal and just kind of hammered whatever they had together. So I'm gonna do that, and we're gonna find out real quick if I made a horrible decision in just guessing, because remember, contact cement sticks immediately. Now, I would love to tell you my technique for pulling this off, but honestly, I don't know how I did it. I guess just kind of very, very slowly start joining the surfaces together and take it one little bit at a time. You know, kind of, if you got a curve like that, push down the middle of it and then kind of work your way out, but not too fast, because you could get puckering or folding. It's a nightmare, but somehow I made this work. And with that ordeal behind us, we can continue on putting on easier pieces. I'm going to go with skinnier ones here on out because they will be much easier to push down and make fit the curve of the helmet. Oh yeah, instantly I can tell that one's going to go on a lot easier. And since this can be whatever I want because I'm making it up, I decided it'd be cool to have a big glowing stone right on the forehead. So I did make a quick template for that part because, you know, I'm not completely lazy, and diamond's an easy template to make. And the stone's going to need a setting to sit in. I know that from my time as a jeweler. No, seriously, I did do that for a little while. So I took a straight edge and I cut at an angle some strips of foam to kind of give them like a triangle shape to... I don't really know why, it just felt right to me. Well, leave me alone. And for the stone itself, I'm going to be cutting it out of a piece of polyfoam. And since I need the stone to fit inside the setting, I used the setting as a guide to cut the stone out. You know, that little trick right there just brought me back to my school days for a minute, you know, where you have to study for tests and memorize things, and, you know, they make it seem like you're going to need to keep all this information in your head and be able to recall it whenever you need it in the real world, when in reality you just find efficiencies and, you know, find the easiest way to get things done. Work smarter, not harder, you know? So I guess if you're a kid watching this, your takeaway should be that school is stupid and you don't really need it. C and A work both get you paid in the real world, and having done both, I can attest to that personally. Of course, don't get me wrong, it's only A work for all of you here. You know, I have plans of taking over the world one day, and for that I'm going to need a lot of supporters, so only the best for you. Anyway, I wanted to put more paneling on this helmet, so I used the original template to make a new template to make a strip that I'm going to put down each side, going from the back all the way to the bottom of the cheek. I don't know, I just feel like we need to create more depth, you know, so layers will be good. Definitely more layers. Whenever you're doing armor and you don't know what to do, put more layers. The only obstacle in the way, though, is this piece is supposed to overlap two different levels of foam. So if I glued it down right now, you would be able to see the higher piece of foam, like an indent of the edge of it, showing across the surface of the strip that's going across. So I'm going to cut a second strip, and I'm going to glue that down flush with the top layer of foam so that it's one even surface that the final piece can go on top of. Does that make sense? I don't know, if I couldn't explain it properly, hopefully the visuals will convey the necessary information. But quick cautionary tale here, you know, this is what happens when you just go in winging it. So, you know, it's not for everybody. I'm not even sure if it's for me, but the point is there's always ways to adapt as your plan changes and you get new ideas. You know, there's always ways to add things and make it work. Anyway, after I got those strips on, I decided to add another skinnier layer of strips on top of the first strips, just to give it even more layers, you know, a bit more detail. And speaking of detail, it's time to go in with a wood burner and scratch in some symbols. I feel like it's definitely worth bringing up. I didn't do a lot of research into what these symbols are. I kind of just googled demonic and angelic symbols. So if I ended up putting something horrific on this helmet, that was very much not my intention, and I do apologize, but I think we're good. I think it's... I'm sure someone will let me know. Okay, now that I've covered myself, let's continue. I'm going to go in with the wood burner more, and I'm just going to go and give a lot of texture all over the whole thing. I want this thing to look like really crudely forged metal. You know, lots of dings, lots of scratches, lots of, I guess, cracks. I guess crunchy would be the way to describe the texture I'm going for. I've heard people say that. Watch Man-at-Arms Reforged. I swear they've used that to describe iron before. And now we're almost ready to paint, but before we do that, we need to seal it up first. So tonight we're going to be doing that with Mod Podge. There's a few things you can use to do that. You could use Plastidip, you can even use contact cement, I believe, if you just want to brush a layer on top. But Mod Podge is what I have in abundance tonight, so that's what we're going to go with. I myself like to apply 2 layers of Mod Podge whenever possible, but, that's just me. Maybe you're a little more reckless, so, do what you will. I'm not going to stop you. Now you may recall that in the early days of this video I said I wanted to put a glowing stone in the forehead, so I'm going to solder this LED to a battery holder. This is embarrassing. I ordered these on Amazon and I don't know what they're called, but that's what I'm doing here. Enjoy. And luckily in the time it took to set that all up and do it, the Mod Podge has dried. So I put in a couple coats of Krylon Metallic Dark Metal, and then I'm going to go over it more with some Plat Effects paints, which are specifically designed for foam. You can paint it directly onto foam, but it's just a habit of mine to prime everything first, so that's all I got to say about that, I guess. And you'll notice I'm not giving it a solid paint job. I'm kind of just roughly going around it. I want to have some shiny parts and a few duller parts, make the metal look like it's old and has been through some stuff. Some parts are polished, some have been a little more dirtied over time. I also mixed a little bit of black in with the Armor Metallic paint to make some parts stand out a little bit, hopefully make it all pop a little bit more. Whether it worked, I can't say. I'll leave that up to you. Then to make it nice and dirty, I watered down some black acrylic paint and gave the whole thing a black wash, being sure to wipe it off quickly after brushing it all on. You just want to get paint in all the little details that have been carved in. Then once that's done, I just dry brushed a little bit of silver all over the edges, anywhere where it would get scratched or kind of rub up against things, just to bring out the detail that much more, just give it a little more pop. Now with the paint dry, we can put the stone in, and to do that I'm just using a little bit of Mod Podge because you can actually glue stuff together with it too, it's not just for coating things. Then to make the mask wearable, I glue an elastic strap into the back. I glued it to a couple pieces of foam and wrapped it around them and then glued them in, hoping that the added surface area from these pieces of foam will hold the strap in more securely. And I always like to make the strap longer than what I need because you can always just tie it up to make it a little tighter if you need to. And using a Dremel tool, I ground out a little space to fit the light in through the back, and you could probably just put a piece of duct tape over that and it would probably stay securely in there just fine. Now, I don't want this light to be just solid red, also it's got a really bad hot spot in the middle, so I'm dry brushing a little bit of black paint over it to kind of give it more of a, maybe like a piece of coal that was pulled out of like hellfire, just... I don't know, I think it's fitting, because it's supposed to be a demon mask after all. And it's finally done. Just in time too, I was dying in the heat out there. Not gonna lie, I was second guessing my decisions to wing a lot of this for a while there, but I don't know, in the end I think it came out pretty good. I'm happy with that. And besides, perfection is the enemy of progress, that's what they say. So, instead of choosing perfection, I chose to finish a video. And I probably always will.